Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Baby's got a burger and a shooter and that shake it won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter. Baby's got corrosion now. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Credit rip-offs, good time.
Scratching and surviving.
Good time. Hanging in a jar. Good times. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good times.
Film before a live studio audience. Good morning. You guys hear me? This thing on? We on this thing? No, they don't, Wesley. They sure as hell do not. They don't make TV show themes like they used to. Do they? I mean, I guess they do. The Hawaii 5-0 reboot used the same music. SWAT reboot used the same music. Thanks, Mantis. Appreciate you. Very good. Yes, Desert Mantis is here. Wesley is here. And CBC voter. Global Solidarity. D is here. Don't forget to watch her show tonight, Around the World, D and Friends, on your local YouTube station, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Ed Heller in the house. Now is the time for bacon. Willie Bragg. Good morning, sir. Dropping a 10 spot. I didn't get a chance to put this in the mix, but I'll read it out. He says, "Let's go, Brandon. Finally. Dark Brandon's finally stepping down. Cop Mala appears to be the one, but Hillary Clinton is sadly still around, and she will not go away. Go away, Hillary, please. Go away." We'll talk about that stuff here in just a few minutes. We're going to get all into that, what's happening, the latest, and all that stuff. First off, we, I don't know if you've been under a rock or whatever over the last day or so, but Joe Biden, he said, I'm out. And I decided to cash in comedically. That being said, I didn't make any money off of this. But this is the joke I told on Twitter. I said, Joe Biden doesn't need prophylactics because his pullout game is strong. I'll see myself out. Yeah, so I didn't say it was a good joke. So Joe Biden has officially withdrawn from the 2024 presidential race. And he has thrown his support behind Kamala Harris, the VP. So, and he put this letter on the internet. It wasn't like an announcement or anything like he got on, like he was doing, like, I'm going to step down. It was like it was on X, right? It was it was just this letter, right? It says, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we made great progress as a nation," blah, 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 all the bullshit that he thinks he did that he didn't do. So all this bullshit. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We protected and preserved our democracy and revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. While it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. That all depends on if they make the cocktail good enough. I guess they don't really need the cocktail anymore. He's out, so he can probably just let Biden be Biden. The fucking crypt keeper. So he didn't endorse her in this letter, but he later endorsed her in a tweet. I think we got it over here. But I want to point out first that right here, the old signature here, somebody was pointing out online that it doesn't bear resemblance to his actual signature. So, and just so people know, none of these politicians, these politicians rarely do their own social media, right? They have social media handlers for that shit. So somebody put that out for Biden. Maybe he signed it. Who knows? Maybe he's just so out to lunch now that they're able to slip this stuff by him. It's pretty wild. So, like I say, he talked about Kamala Harris here in another tweet. This was like in the afternoon. This came out. It says, "My fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and focus all my energies as president. For my very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." Again, he did not write that because those are coherent sentences. And if you're with us, there it is. Money, 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 money. And if you're with us, donate to our campaign right here. Yeah. And we all know who Kamala is. You know, see the won 0 delegates in 2020 when she ran for president. Got her ass handed to her in the debates by Tulsi Gabbard. What else? Yeah, jailed a mom in California because her kid, she couldn't get her kid to school for some reason. I think she was a master orator when she worked with Willie Brown in San Francisco. I think you know what that means. So yeah, it looks like they're gonna rally around her, but you know, the actual convention is still gonna be in Chicago next month. It's only a few weeks away, so about a month away, I guess. So I mean, anything can happen, right? In fact, a Democratic representative from Austin, Texas, Tejas, in the House, Representative Lloyd Doggett. I think he wants a little bit of a choice. I don't think he's 1,000% behind Kamala. So this was his post yesterday. He said, "This is Representative Lloyd Doggett out of Austin, Texas." And, you know, of course, there's some sugary shit in here for them because that's what these Democrats do. That's, you know, they just kiss each other's asses. "Once again, President Biden comes through for America, putting country over ego in a way that Donald Trump never could. Now we must move forward to offer a nominee who can win over disaffected voters and energize Democrats. I continue to urge a fair, open, and democratic process to select the nominee best able to convince battleground voters to reject Trump's dark, retribution-fueled plans." I didn't know you could fuel something with retribution. Bet you it'd save a ton of money. While with President Biden's endorsement, Vice President Harris is clearly the leading candidate, we should be open to all talented individuals who wish to be considered. Now, you have to remember, hey, good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Kate. Yeah, that's exactly it. They're going to rally around someone else, and Kamala is going to gleefully hand over her delegates. What delegates? You can't hand over negative numbers. So yeah, so there was no primary in the Democrats' side there. There were no elections. There were none of that. You know, they chose him, right? While I respectfully called for President Biden to step aside almost 3 weeks ago, I recognize that this would be a painful and difficult decision, not unlike that faced long ago under different circumstances by President Lyndon B. Johnson. We'll get to some historical stuff soon in regards to this. Today's courageous action caps decades of selfless service and opens the door to a convention that can build on our progress and prevent a takeover of our country by Trump and his gang. All right, so that's this guy Tater, whatever his name is. What was it, Lloyd Doggett? I don't know, man. You saying some he's saying some shit he probably shouldn't be saying. You know, the Democratic cult will come after him. K-Hive. That's the thing, man. Okay, so K-Hive was this group of like Kamala Harris supporters that was just so unbearable, so obnoxious during the 2020 campaign. And now that, you know, they're just going to be unbearable for the next 5 months till Trump puts this, wraps it up, because he's going to win. If he doesn't win, then there's going to be some seriously fucked up shit happening with the process around there, the electoral process. Because, and like we said, you know, this is all you say, why do you cover this stuff? It's like, well, you have to still look for ways that these people are going to trick you and lie to you. So you have to set your tricorder for propaganda and scan it. You know, that's why Case Study QB watches all that shit, because he provides these just clips that we're never going to see, you know. And then there's Shiva excoriated. Yikes. But yeah, so that was Lloyd Doggett. And come on, where you at here? So like we said, Kamala is the front runner to get this. It looks like everybody's throwing their support behind her, but because it's the Democrats and because they do shit their own way, you never know. You know, who could be waiting in the wings? You know, Hillary, she's always just like, you know, that meme of the guy in the yellow suit behind the tree going, you know. But I don't think the Democrats are that stupid to run Hillary again. I mean, I could be wrong. They may be that stupid, but they do have other options, though. So this is from Al Jazeera. Who's likely to replace Joe Biden in the 2024 presidential race? So let's take a look at some of these people, right? So we got Kamala first. When we get down there, yikes! Look at that. Harris is Biden's most likely heir, having served as running mate and vice president for nearly 4 years. So yeah, when you don't have a primary where you actually have like elections and stuff like that, and then your top candidate decides to, yeah, it usually goes, if you're a sitting president, it would naturally go to the vice president. But that's when you don't have elections, right? You know, but democracy's on the ballot, but apparently not in the primaries. So like we said, Biden formally endorsed Harris for the nomination. She's struggled to make an impact during her time at the White House. Her role, like that of many vice presidents, has been low profile. She struggled with dismal approval ratings early in her tenure, and they're not that great now either. In 2021, for instance, a poll from USA Today and Suffolk University found that she had only 28% support rate, a figure that showed her ranking lower than previous vice presidents like Dick Cheney. Yikes! When you're worse than Dick Cheney. But as Biden prepared to exit the race in 2024, Harris found her star rising. A poll last week from the Associated Press news agency and the NORC Center for Public Affairs Research found that 74% of Democrats found her performance favorable. 43% of respondents overall shared the same view of Harris, 43%. So that's her, right? She's of course she's supported by Jim Clyburn out of South Carolina, who was instrumental in getting Joe Biden elected in 2020. If you remember that little fiasco. And Clyburn said, "I'm going to be for Harris if Biden ain't there." He told USA Today. That's my South Carolina accent. She's originally from Oakland. She served as Attorney General of the state and U.S. Senator there. And like we said, when she ran for president, she got 0 delegates, not even from her own home state. So that's how much they like her. Well, we got Michigan is in the hunt. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Unlike, wait a minute. I think we skipped somebody. Did we skip somebody? Where the hell is he? Oh, okay. We'll do her next. I think he's next. So Gretchen Whitmer, she represents a coveted swing state in this year's presidential election, Michigan, part of the industrial Rust Belt region. She's campaigned for Biden and reaffirmed her support for the president as pressures mounted for him to end his reelection campaign. Born and raised in the state capital of Lansing, Whitmer was elected to the state legislature multiple times and served on the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, before she entered the governor's mansion. Self-described progressive, because no one else will describe her as that. She also has had high-profile public clashes with Trump, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Whitmer implemented a stay-at-home order at the start of the pandemic and issued restrictions on large-scale gatherings interstate. That prompted Trump, who opposed certain safety restrictions, to call her a dictator and denounce her on social media. Later that same year, the FBI announced it had foiled a far-right attempt to kidnap Whitmer. You remember that? They were gonna get her, and that turned out to be bullshit. J.B. Pritzker, right here in Illinois, the governor. Like many on the short list, Pritzker is not only a governor, but also a prominent surrogate for Biden on the campaign trail. While Pritzker's home state of Illinois is a traditional Democratic stronghold, it is a key intersection for the Midwest, a region where agriculture and industry collide. It's also a stone's throw away from key swing states like Wisconsin. Pritzker has tried to leverage his roots in the region to his and Biden's advantage, pledging to build a, quote, blue wall, quote, across the Midwest. A blue wall is more like a brown wall because it's more Biden poop than anything else. A lawyer with decades of political experience, Pritzker previously co-chaired Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. Invested $42 million of his own money in his campaign for the governor's race in 2017. His family owned Hyatt hotels and resorts. So Governor Gavin Newsom was considered one of the people that might be picked too. But it says, after a few hours of silence that sparked speculation over his ambitions, the 56-year-old governor of California endorsed Kamala Harris on Sunday. With our democracy at stake and our future on the line, no one is better to prosecute the case against Donald Trump's dark vision and guide our country. So I guess Newsom is taking his hat out of the ring when it comes to this. I don't know, man. J.B. Pritzker, that's kind of, I'm kind of with the Chicago boys here. I think he might have an outside shot there. You never know. I mean, like we said, there's a whole month until this shit happens. We're going to try and get down there and cover it. I'll try not to get arrested or beat up. But I can't make any promises. So, because I kind of like the beatings, if we're being honest. But I digress. There's a little history to this too. So, like, when was the last time a president was replaced? Right? They're saying he stepped down. They're saying that Biden is going to step down, and it's the same thing that happened with LBJ. But we'll get to that in a second. Back in the day, there was another president that they had little or no faith in, and he was the sitting president, and they went with somebody else. So this is from Town and Country of all places. They put this out yesterday, I think, or the day before. The only other elected president to lose his party nomination was Franklin Pierce, right? So in 1856, Franklin Pierce, the 14th president of the United States, was running for re-election, but Pierce's position against the abolitionist movement, his reinforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act, and the fact that he signed into law the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, which repealed the Missouri Compromise and left open the question of slavery in new territories, made him unpopular among his own Democratic Party, right? You have to remember, it was the Republicans who freed the slaves. This was like the old switch-o change-o back in the day when the Democrats were like super, super shitty. I mean, they're super shitty now, but they weren't that great back then either. At the 1856 convention, delegates ditched Pierce and instead nominated former Secretary of State James Buchanan. Pierce ultimately endorsed Buchanan, who won the election and served as the 15th president from 57 to 61. Pierce was the first, and until Biden, the only elected incumbent president who did not get his party's nomination for a second term. Right? So technically, Biden, you get the nomination at the convention, right? That's the technical, yeah, you've already got it, but to make it official, they do it at the convention. Well, at the convention, they told Pierce, no dice, precious. We're going with somebody else. Other incumbent presidents that also lost their party's nomination: Andrew Johnson, he was one of them. John Tyler, who became the 10th president in 1841 upon the death of William Henry Harrison. He was expelled from the Whig Party just a few months later. Therefore, he wasn't eligible to earn the Whig Party nomination in 1844, which instead nominated Henry Clay. Clay would go on to lose to the Democratic nominee, James K. Polk. Right? Millard Fillmore, the 13th president, he ascended to the president upon the death of Zachary Taylor in 1850. At the 52 Whig National Convention, Taylor, who enforcement of the Fugitive Slave Act was unpopular with Northerners, of course. These guys with the Fugitive Slave Act, what the fuck? Lost the nomination to General-in-Chief Winfield Scott. Scott lost the 1852 election to Franklin Pierce. And then, you know what happens with Franklin Pierce. And Andrew Johnson, Chester Arthur, among others. And of course, LBJ, they were talking about LBJ. He decided not to run for president. But he did, it was different with LBJ. It was months and months in advance. He said, he wasn't going to, it wasn't like a few weeks before the convention. Biden technically falls in the category of incumbents who decided not to seek a second term, but he was pushed out. So yeah, LBJ decided he wanted to step down, because it was a lot of times these people stepped down because their numbers were shit, right? And that was probably the most reason the party said, we're not rolling with you. We do not trust you. Okay. So that's our Biden, I'm getting the fuck out beat. We're going to see what happens within the next few weeks. Like I said, I think they're probably all just going to, I don't know, rally around Harris and then she'll get crushed. I think I put on Twitter that she was Walter Mondale and Timberlands. So although I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of rigging and stuff like that going on to where it's going to make it close at least, but I still think Trump's going to win. And I'm no fan of Trump, all right? I don't like any of these people. I don't like electoral politics. I always say, let's go after transportation. Let's shut it down. But we'll see. Speaking of Trump, he finally got to talk with Voldemort over there in Ukraine. Says he's willing to work to end the war in Ukraine. Remember, he famously said he was going to end the war in 24 hours. I think he's rethinking that a little bit. So this is from antiwar.com. Dave DeCamp, the hardest working man in independent media. Trump speaks with Zelensky, says he will work to end the war in Ukraine. Former President Donald Trump said Friday that he spoke to Zelensky and said he would work to end the war in Ukraine. I appreciate President Zelensky for reaching out because I, as your next president of the United States, will bring peace. We're going to bring much, much peace to the world and end the world. And end the world. Yeah, probably. And end the war that cost so many lives and devastated countless innocent families. He wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social. Both sides will be able to come together and negotiate a deal that ends the violence and paves a path forward to prosperity. The conversation came after Trump was formally nominated as the Republican presidential candidate. Zelensky's office said in a statement on the call that the Ukrainian president congratulated Trump, quote, on his nomination as the candidate of the Republican Party in the presidential elections. He also condemned the assassination attempt on Trump, and that the two leaders agreed to discuss in a personal meeting what steps can be taken to restore a just peace for Ukraine as soon as possible. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, has also said he favors a peace deal in Ukraine so the U.S. can focus on building up around China, which he called the biggest threat facing the United States. So of course they want to get out of this with Ukraine. If anybody knows about a boondoggle, that would be Donald Trump, because as many bankruptcies as he's had his fair share of he knows what a boondoggle looks like. Excuse me. I heard that David Axelrod is holding out to the end to throw his hat in the ring. Right? There's Joe Manchin said he'd be willing to switch his he's an independent now. He used to be a Democrat. He said he'd be willing to switch back to Democrat to run for president. I mean, ain't nobody gonna vote for Food Club George W. Bush, right? Ain't nobody gonna vote for his ass. He could keep his hat out of the ring, because that it's probably just full of dumb shit like his head. I don't know. There's people who love power. So and that kind of takes us to Israel over in the Middle East. What's going on as the U.S. criticizes the ICJ ruling that Israeli occupation of Palestine is illegal. So the U.S. has criticized the International Court of Justice's ruling that said the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories is illegal and must come to an end, claiming it impedes a two-state solution. We are concerned that the breadth of the court's opinion will complicate efforts to resolve the conflict and bring about an urgently needed, just, and lasting peace with two states living side by side in peace and security, a State Department spokesman told Reuters in an email on Saturday. The spokesperson said the ICJ ruling, which was a non-binding opinion, was inconsistent with the established framework. In contrast, the U.S. refused to condemn the Israeli Knesset passing a resolution that rejects the establishment of a Palestinian state west of the Jordan River, which covers all of the occupied territories. The ICJ ruling said the establishment and expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem amounted to annexation. Since October 7th, Israeli settlers have stepped up their attacks on Palestinians to steal their homes, and the Israeli government has approved the largest land grab in the West Bank in 30 years. And I think they just want to keep, they want to keep it going, right? They want to keep this war going. Nobody who's making money off this wants peace in the Middle East, right? Particularly in that area. And it goes too that we keep, some people forget all the natural resources that are under Palestine, like billions of cubic meters of natural gas. I think there's oil under there too. I mean, it's like they're getting away with ethnic cleansing, and they're trying to make a buck at the same time, which just makes it doubly evil. So, but finally, I guess a little better news here. I don't know if you remember Bella Hadid. I believe she was let go from the Adidas campaign, but now she's ready to file a lawsuit against Adidas. So this is some fairly interesting stuff here. So Bella Hadid prepares to sue Adidas after 1972 Olympic sneaker debacle. The alleged legal filings emerged following the controversial Adidas campaign, which featured sneakers initially designed by the sports clothing brand for the 1972 Olympics in Munich. Right, and there she is. She's a very nice lady. Hadid, a model of Palestinian descent, is preparing to sue Adidas, TMZ reported on Sunday. Yeah, no, right? Go Bella. The alleged legal filings emerged from the controversial Adidas campaign, which featured sneakers initially designed by the sports clothing brand for the 72 Olympics in Munich, Germany. During the 72 Olympics, 8 members of the Palestinian militant organization Black September infiltrated the Olympic Village and killed 2 members of the Israeli Olympic team and took 9 others hostages. Those 9 were later killed. Hadid has reportedly hired legal counsel to take action against Adidas for their lack of public accountability, TMZ noted. TMZ cited sources saying that Hadid is upset that Adidas would develop and market a campaign associated with the tragedy of the Munich massacre. The report also stated that Hadid is still under contract with Adidas, countering reports that the sportswear company dropped her. Pro-Israel social media users decried that the brand had hired Hadid, a vocal opponent of Israel, to promote shoes introduced for the infamous Olympics, where the Palestinian terror faction Black September murdered members of the Israeli team. That's just wild. Why would you want to do that? Why would you, Adidas cashing in on tragedy? Wow, there's a shock. A big giant corporation. Yeah, you never see that. Crazy, right? Well, it is what it is, and there needs to be more exposure of what the Zionist factions are doing, particularly in this country, and how AIPAC has everything under control. And that's another thing with like elections, right, in this country. As long as AIPAC is shelling out that cash, you're not going to have fair elections in this country. That's 100% guaranteed, right? Because you got all these cucks that are in the government who take that AIPAC money, and then they will defend them to the hilt. Richie Torres is a good example of that. My God, you'd think he was Israeli. He's not, but you'd think. Well, the cult is going to get a chance to see their cult hero when he comes to address Congress on Wednesday. And who am I talking about? Well, of course, I'm talking about Bibi, baby. And huge protests await Netanyahu ahead of his address to the U.S. Congress. So this is from Press TV, I believe out of Iran. Thousands of protesters plan to take to the streets in Washington. Oh, this looks a little kooky. Let's try that. Thousands in Washington and across the United States as the head of the Israeli regime, Benjamin Netanyahu, is set to address Congress on Wednesday. He'll be in Washington for an address to a joint meeting of Congress. He's also scheduled to meet President Joe Biden on Monday. Not that Biden's going to remember that meeting. His arrival in Washington is expected to spark massive protests as people in the United States are outraged that Netanyahu has been invited to speak to Congress. Again, the Washington Post reported, citing a protest organizer. We consider it a disgrace that Benjamin Netanyahu has been invited to speak to both houses of Congress, said Brian Becker, the executive director of the Answer Coalition. About 5,000 people are estimated to attend only one gathering in Washington on the day of Netanyahu's address, according to a permit application submitted to the National Park Service. People, Becker said, will take part in several demonstrations with varying demands, including a ceasefire in Gaza and end to Washington's military aid to Israel. U.S. Capitol Police, those guys, remember January 6th, been working around the clock with our federal, state, and local partners to prepare Netanyahu's visit, according to the statement. So he's coming. He's not even breathing hard. Wait, what? No, he's coming to Washington. So this will be BB's second concert at the Rotunda, or wherever the fuck it is. And I think Zelensky, I don't know if he addressed them twice or not, but those kind of things are not going to bode well for people who cannot stand genocide. And you're obviously not only supporting it, you're funding it. Well, of course you're going to get people coming out. But House Speaker Mike Johnson, he is saying, no, Belvedere, we are not having any of that bullshit. Again, Dave DeCamp, antiwar.com. Speaker Johnson, supporting Israel is one of America's founding principles. Even though it wasn't Israel when America was founded. But I guess that's kind of not the point. Johnson also threatened to arrest Democrats who protest Netanyahu's address to Congress if they get out of hand. And I find this funny. It's like, well, who's going to protest? The only ones who are going to protest are the ones that aren't funded by AIPAC. And even then, they're probably like, I better shut the fuck up. House Speaker Mike Johnson described U.S. support for Israel as one of America's founding principles during a speech in an event hosted by the Republican Jewish Committee on July 18th. It is an important principle. I don't know how he sounds. I'm just making his voice up. It's an important principle that America and Israel stand together resolutely. That is part of who we are as a country. It's one of our founding principles. I believe that we maintain peace through strength, and I think that the relationship with Israel is essential to who we are as Americans. Since the modern state of Israel was created in 1948, it's unclear what Johnson meant when he said the U.S.-Israel relationship is a founding principle. Maybe the founding fathers had a time machine and traveled to the future in 1948 and said, you know what, we like those guys. Let's go back. The most well-known founding fathers would also disagree with Johnson since they strongly warned against permanent alliances and attachments to other nations. And you see like some of these towns, they'd be flying the American flag, and right under it is the flag of Israel. You don't fly a foreign flag in America unless it's like an embassy or something like that. And I'm sorry, a courthouse is not an embassy. In his farewell address in 1796, George Washington said, quote, "A passionate attachment of one nation for another produces a variety of evils. Sympathy for the favorite nation, facilitating the illusion of an imaginary common interest in cases where no real common interest exists, and infusing into one the enmities of the other, betrays the former into a participation in the quarrels and wars of the latter, without adequate inducement or justification." Man, that dude could talk, man. Biden probably say, look, fat, we need the money. Johnson also threatened Democratic lawmakers with possible arrest if they protest Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's address to Congress, which is scheduled for this Thursday. There's a number of Democrats in the House who have said they're going to boycott the event, and then some others are going to protest. He said, "We're going to have extra sergeants at arms on the floor, and if anybody gets out of hand, the Speaker of the House will bang the gavel. We're going to arrest people we have to. We're going to get the message out." The guy looks like a failed game show host from the 1980s. That Mike Johnson guy. Too bad his first name isn't Richard. I think it could be Dick Johnson. Giggity go go go, giggity go, giggity shmoigan. So yeah, BB's coming. You better be good. For goodness sake. Whoa! Somebody's coming. And this was from the other day. There's been some events, speaking of Israel, there's been some events involving the Houthis. You may know about the Houthis from Yemen. They also played the Civic Center in Houston, Texas. They were also at the Metrodome. They opened for Kiss, I believe. No, I'm just kidding. It was Cheap Trick. But this is kind of old news, but just kind of a refresh because we've got some updates to this particular story. So this is Will Porter, another hard worker there at antiwar.com. Yemen's Houthis claim deadly Tel Aviv drone attack. So this was the other day. This was early Friday morning. At least one person was killed and several others injured in a drone strike on Tel Aviv early Friday morning. Yemen's ruling Houthi government claimed responsibility for the blast, saying a new weapon was used in the operation. A spokesman for the Houthis military wing, Yahya Saree, announced the attack in a televised statement later on Friday. Saree said the drone mission utilized a new unmanned weapon dubbed the Yafa and, quote, successfully achieved its goals, quote. The Houthis have previously acknowledged a qualitative operation targeting Tel Aviv. A state of confusion prevailed among the enemy authorities following the attack, Houthi-linked media reported, adding that Israel's Iron Dome systems were unable to detect the drone after the reports from settlers about an explosion in the middle of the capital of the enemy entity. The exact type of drone used remains unclear, though Reuters cited an unnamed Israeli military official who described a large UAV that can fly large distances. Yeah. IDF claimed later that an Iranian drone believed to have been launched from Yemen had crossed into Israeli territory and hit a residential building downtown, per the IDF spokesman. He noted one fatality, at least 8 others wounded. The Times of Israel clarified that 4 of those hospitalized were treated for anxiety. That's rich. While 4 others sustained injuries. Yeah. So, and as they've proved, the Iron Dome is rusty and is falling apart. They just sent garbage drones over there that were super cheap, and Israel wasted like a whole bunch of high-end military weaponry on those things. And that was the whole point, is to drain resources, right? Is to, you can't attack an enemy like that head on. You have to do stuff like this. You have to get creative. You have to think outside the box. So, but then it was Israel's turn, right? So Yemen, this is from Yemen, from Middle East Eye. Israel confirms airstrikes targeting Yemen's Hodeidah port. Hodeidah, I think. The official spokesperson for, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. The official spokesperson for Yemen's Houthi movement, Nasruddin Amer, described the Israeli airstrike on the oil tanks and power facility at Hodeidah port as a, quote, a brutal act of aggression against Yemen aimed at worsening the suffering of its people and pressuring Yemen to halt its support for Gaza. The Israeli military announced that it carried out strikes on the Red Sea port city earlier on Saturday. In a post on X, Amir dismissed the strike as an unrealistic Israeli fantasy and asserted that it would only strengthen the Yemeni people's resolve and their support for Gaza, right? And not only that, they doubled down. This is from Dave DeCamp again. Houthi leader says Yemen pleased to be in direct confrontation with Israel. They're like, come on, bitches. They're like, oh, that's all you got? Oh, that's all. I was like, come on, bitches. So yesterday, Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi said Yemenis were pleased to be in a direct confrontation. That word was a confrontation with Israel, and vowed to hit back hard at the Israeli bombing of Yemen's Red Sea port of Hodeidah. Yemeni people are pleased to be in direct confrontation with the Israeli enemy, and they are steadfast and brave people, al-Houthi said, according to Iran's press TV. Israel bombed fuel depots on Saturday, as we said. It said the Israeli attack was aimed at Yemen's economy, since the port is a vital entry point for fuel and humanitarian aid. Since 2015, Yemen has been under a U.S.-backed Saudi blockade, which has been eased but not fully lifted. So al-Houthi noted that the U.S. and British bombing campaign in Yemen had done nothing to deter Houthi attacks on Israel-linked and other commercial shipping. There's a hint. You want to take down a system, take down the commerce. In the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden and beyond. The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, have made clear that they would only end their attacks if Israel's genocidal siege on Gaza came to an end. Houthis, strong. And I know some Yemeni people from back in New York, and just the nicest people you ever want to meet, right? They come to America and they try to they come over here to America, and it's not just folks from Yemen. There's a lot of folks from around the Middle East come to America. They will work like every day, like 7 days a week, right? Saving their money. They'll do that for about a year. Then they'll take everything that they've accumulated and they'll go back to Yemen, take it back to their families, and then they'll stay there for about a year. So, and that's the thing, they come back and forth. And that's tough. That's hard, especially with all that bullshit that's going on over there, the wars and stuff. God love Yemen, man. Good people. And I hope they make it through this okay. And, you know, as far as somebody that appreciates what they're doing, you know, keep up the good work. We got the Olympics coming up this Friday. I'll tell you about that later. This Friday the Olympics start in Paris, right? And it's they have the caretaker government going on right now since they didn't get no party got a majority in their recent snap elections over there, right? But I think a lot of left-leaning groups had formed a coalition, and they haven't really formed a government yet. So right now, but they still have to take care of the Olympics. So, of course, they're going to be, with the assassination attempts and everything that's going on around the world, they're really getting nutty with the security there. So this is from Middle East Eye. Paris Olympics 2024. France targets people posing security threat ahead of the games. Sorry, I need some coffee. So good. Thousands of Muslims among those monitored as individuals placed under house arrest during the Olympics. And we saw this during 9/11 too, over 20 years ago too. Targeting of Muslims. French authorities have carried out a number of raids targeting people they said could pose a threat to the Olympic and Paralympic Games ahead of the opening ceremony come Friday. Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin said that 870,000 administrative investigations had led to the, quote, removal of 3,922 people deemed to be a security threat from areas within the vicinity of the events. Among them were 131 people listed as S, denoting state security, including 18 listed for, quote, Islamist radicalization, quote, 167 people listed as, quote, ultra-left, quote, and 80 on the, quote, ultra-right. Darmanin stated that there had been 155 examples of administrative and surveillance measures imposed on individuals who were to remain within defined parameters and would need to report daily to a police station. He added that 164 home visits were also made in connection with the Olympics. He told reporters on last week that before the games begin, we will be in time to reach 1 million probes into the individuals. Yikes. Well, that's your caretaker government, but they ain't taking care of, Muslims, keeping an eye on them. Very sad, very sad, very sad. I think that's it for our news roundup today. We got a little bit more here. In our propaganda watch today, everybody's like praising. Well, everybody in the Democratic Party is praising Kamala Harris, even though she's just an awful, awful candidate, probably and an awful person too, to be honest. But Russia, they smell some nefarious shit going on. So we're gonna check on that in just a second.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So Russia accuses U.S. media of collusion over Biden's health. Dun, dun, dun. This is from RT. The president's condition dates back years, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman has claimed. And that's this lady right here. There needs to be an investigation into a possible conspiracy among American political circles and the media to manipulate the public's perceptions regarding President Joe Biden's health. This is from Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova. Biden announced yesterday that he would not seek re-election in November, less than a month before the DNC convention is to be held here in Chi-Town. Commenting on his announcement in an interview with Russian media, Zakharova noted that it was on his announcement. On Biden's announcement in the interview with Russian media. I was about to say, this is a lady. Zakharova noted that it was highly unusual to have just a screenshot of a letter posted on social media rather than a video or an audio statement. And this is what we were talking about earlier, right? Because there's been somebody found another letter that he had signed, and the R is the R in his middle initial was like totally different or whatever. In the modern world filled with post-truth and deep fakes, it's very important to leave no room for speculation, Zakharova said. Assuming Biden's letter is authentic, as the U.S. media and the public alongside them appear to have done, it, quote, raises the question of investigating what I call the collusion of the American media with political circles, including officials and the so-called expert community who hid the true state of affairs regarding Biden's mental health, she added. Anyone who truly cares about free speech, transparency, and, quote, our democracy in America should support this, according to Zakharova. She added that questions about Biden's cognitive capabilities had been raised 4 years ago, back in 2020, and we all remember that. The Democrat did not bother to campaign actively, but stayed in his basement and repeatedly made gaffes in video interviews with supporters and friendly media. He then officially won the election by the most votes ever in U.S. history. And Trump responded to Biden as the worst president ever and cheered for the Harris endorsement, suggesting that defeating her will be easier than Biden. And I gotta say, he's not wrong. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, she's Walter Mondale and Timberlands. So that who knows? We're gonna keep an eye on things, what kind of fuckery is afoot with the Democrats. Because the more they do this dumb shit, the more they're going to become an irrelevant party like the Whigs. Nobody's going to take them seriously. Nobody's going to want to run as a Democrat because they don't know if they're going to actually be the nominee if they get all the votes, right? Well, Bernie back in 2020 had won the first 3 states. Looks like he was the presumptive nominee. All of a sudden, Big Mike's husband gets in and, well, you know, and now you know the rest of that story. So yeah, craziness there in the world. Sorry to bring you bad news, but I'm going to bring you some good news. And this is just wild. I just found this by accident. I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm more hip replacement than hip, right? So I don't know shit, but I found this, and this is from the Straits Times in Malaysia, I believe so. Don't name your kids Bodo, Skibidi, or Evil. Malaysian agencies tell parents. This is from Sherilyn Sim. Hello, Sherilyn. She seems very nice. This is from last week, but this is kind of funny. The tiger may be a symbol of Malaysia, but its citizens are not allowed to name their children Haramu, Malay. It's Malay for tiger. In a Facebook post on July 8th, Malaysia's National Registration Department shared with parents the do's and don'ts of naming their babies, right? Parents should avoid names with negative connotations like evil. I don't know. I'd love to name a child Evil. It's like, hey, Evil. And they'd be like, what? Bodo and Busuk, which means stupid and smelly, respectively, in Malay, said the department. Gen Z slang like skibidi has also made the list of names to be avoided. The term has references to viral YouTube video series Skibidi Toilet by animator Alexei Gerasimov, where a man's head emerges from a toilet and sings. Smelly indeed. Department added that parents should not include official titles such as Dato, Tan Sri, and Puan Sri in their children's names. The names to avoid Names that are difficult to spell and pronounce, like that and whatever that is, should also be avoided. Names should be kept short, as the maximum number of characters allowed on a child's birth certificate is 80. So yeah, so don't be naming your kids like a whole bunch of shits. So I mean, this skibbity toilet thing, that had me concerned. I was like, well, what is this skibbity toilet thing? I don't understand what's going on, right? So I just got to show you, and hopefully I don't get dinged on the copyright, but we'll see. This is what they're talking about with this this skibbity toilet shit. Not actual shit, but just, you know, because it's a toilet.
Feel the king upon this throne, I'm ready for their stones.
All right, that's man's head. He's a DJ because he's got the headphones on, right, and that cool toque. You got that hat on. Skibbity. Yeah, it is disturbing. What? Look at the end here. This is how it ends. Look at that. Ah, Chompy, oh Chompy, give me some candy. Oh, yummins. And you know what that looks like? That looks like that animation out of that old game Doom from like the early 2000s, you know? Kind of looks like one of the things. Like, oh. Anyway, that either entertained you or scared the shit out of you. One or the other, it don't matter. You just want a reaction. Oh, that's right. The Seinfeld episode, George wanted to name his kid 7. It was Mickey Mantle's number, right? And then there's Stranger Things, where the kid's name is 11. Yeah, it does look like Lawnmower Man, Ed. Yeah. If you haven't seen that movie, that's an old movie. I'm amazed they haven't rebooted that to use like AI and stuff in there. Anyway. I get so sweaty. I don't know why. It's not cold. It's not hot in here. My hands get clammy. I guess that's it for today. You know, our buddy, I wanted to say, let me say this before I go. So I had my buddy, Seth Michael Pinder on Friday, and we were talking about music and comedy and stuff like that. And he also talked about being a veteran, right? And currently he's taking steps to, you know, get his medical benefits, right? Because of things they found wrong with him in the service. Medically, he's entitled to get these benefits, but it's such a long and drawn out process, and not a lot of veterans out there know that they can claim benefits. So come November 11th, which is going to be Veterans Day, it'll be a Monday. I'm going to hopefully get Seth back in here, maybe some folks in to talk about how we can actually help veterans instead of just giving them the old 07 and then just forgetting them for the other 364 days. So we'll be talking about ways that people can sign up for benefits, maybe find, you know, organizations in their area to help them find housing, get them off the streets, get them off drugs, whatever the help they need. So because, you know, our military, our veterans were pretty much tricked into going into war and going into these places and doing these horrendous things. And then they have to come back not only with the PTSD, maybe the actual wounds, physical wounds, but there's definitely the mental wounds. And we hope to get our veterans at least that, where, you know, the government has pretty much forgotten them and left them to their own devices, and I think they need some help. So because not a lot of people know. But that's coming up in November, so we'll be kind of teasing that as we go. But coming up this Friday, I got my buddy coming back, friend of the show, Robert Moore. He's going to be here Friday. We're going to be talking about the James Webb Space Telescope and Planet 9. Is there a Planet 9 out there? Planet 9 from outer space? So he's going to be on Friday. He's also coming into town next month, into Chicago to come see the Metallica concert at Soldier Field. So I'm gonna hook up with him. And those that wonder what's the shirt says, it says, I love you a latte. I love you a latte. And you know what? I do. I love you a latte. I love all y'all latte. I want to thank you for hanging out with us. Like I said, Around the World, D and Friends, 9 p.m. Check your local listings. And there may be some of our other pals doing some live streaming on YouTube. Look for those notifications. If you're subscribed to any of these people on there, you know, make sure you click the bell so you get all the notifications. I know you hear that in like a shit ton of videos, but it really does help, because you only get like some people are like, how come I didn't get this notification, you some biscuit eater? I don't want blah, blah. It's like, man, it wasn't me, man. Click the bell. So do that. Make sure you're doing that for all the people that you're following, so you get as much independent media in your system as possible. It's good stuff. The mainstream media is crap, and some of the stuff in the independent realm ain't exactly great either. So you have to watch out for that. No, thank you, D. D is the hardest working woman in independent media. She's always going. So I appreciate what she does and what everybody does here in this space. So anyway, me and this guy, we're gonna get out of here. I'm not gonna go stick my head in the toilet, but I probably should. But have a good day. We'll see you on Wednesday. Be safe. Love each other. And remember, hate is just an emotional attachment that you give to people. Don't make that investment. Hate is no good. Dislike the fuck out of them, but don't hate them. That only hurts you. Peace out. We'll see you on Wednesday.
This is City Alpha 5! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.